The fastest way to get close to anyone you want is by being a good listener. There are four key components of this, and let's go through them one by one. The first one is non judgmental listening. So, therapists are trained for this. You can say the most fucked up things to a therapist, and that person is supposed to sit quietly and just listen to you. Let's take a simple example. Let's say you have a friend, and that friend lost some money in a scam. You can call that person stupid or idiot or whatever, and if you do that, a part of him is going to resent you, first of all. And second, it almost guarantees that that person is not going to share anything personal with you anymore. On the other hand, let's say your friends know that you're a non judgmental person. They can reveal their most deepest, darkest secrets to you, and you're not going to judge them. If they want to talk to anyone, you are the first person they will contact. Trust is also a factor. If your friends think that you are going to tell their secrets to someone else, they might not open up to you completely. And that is the reason gossiping is something you're supposed to absolutely avoid. Don't speak some bad things behind a person's back. In fact, do the opposite. Speak some nice things behind a person's back. There are a lot of benefits for this, both social and your mental health. Now, what if that person says something that you absolutely disagree with? Should you argue with them or should you suppress your feelings and be non judgmental? So, first of all, as long as it is not affecting your life, don't try to argue. Second, most people don't want a direct solution to their problem, they just want a person who can listen to them. And third, being non judgmental does not mean that you are supposed to sit quietly like a robot and not say anything. It is completely okay to share your opinions, assuming you do it in the right way. Instead of saying, oh my god, you're so stupid for believing this, say it like, I think this and this and this, like whatever you think. So that was the first thing, non judgmental listening. Before going to the second thing, I do coaching calls on how to grow your personality, how to become a better, healthier human being. So if you want to book a one-to-one call with me, you can check the description. So back to the topic, the next thing is sharing your secrets with people. So if you share your secrets with someone, that person is much more likely to share their secrets with you. Now, this does not mean that you're supposed to go to some random people and start talking about your childhood trauma or something. Start small, take one step at a time. Start by being vulnerable. So, let's say hypothetically, you are a student and you are very poor, you don't have a lot of money. You go to your classroom and you hear some people talking about a trip, an international expensive trip. You go to your seat and someone approaches you and that person invites you for the trip. You know that you cannot afford it. You can say that, oh no, I'm busy or something, and you can keep going back and forth. Or you can take this opportunity to be vulnerable. You can be honest and say that, I don't have money for this. And because you're opening up to that person, you are being vulnerable, that person is going to form a sort of connection with you. I remember hearing about a research on confidence. So let's say if I ask you, imagine a confident person. What do you think? Probably some rich guy who is speaking very loudly or something, because that is what they show in the movies. But in real life, things are much different. Research shows that one thing confident people have in common is self acceptance, accepting yourself for who you are. If you are poor, for example, you don't try to hide it from other people, you don't try to cover that, you accept that. You are willing to admit that you are poor in front of other people. That is true confidence. So start small, first be more vulnerable, and as you get closer and closer to people, reveal more secrets, more deeper secrets, and that person is going to reveal their secrets to you and you form a connection. The next thing is follow up questions. So, a bunch of researchers analyzed a lot of first dates to figure out what are the contributing factors of two people wanting to go on a second date. Looks was, of course, the first thing. Second thing was follow up questions. Now, what does follow up questions mean? So, let's say you're talking to someone and that person seems very interested in what you're saying. He or she is asking a lot of questions about the topic. You are going to love talking to this person. The reason being that people love telling stories about how interesting their life is, how they overcame some struggle, how they achieved something, how they did something so cool and that worked out. And when they are saying this, they're expecting two things from you. First is, of course, your interest. They want you to be interested in them, ask some questions about them, and they want to talk more about that thing, about how cool they are. Second thing is validation. They want you to acknowledge their achievements or their decisions. It can be a direct compliment or some indirect compliment, or just some sort of assurance that what they did was the correct thing to do. Now, what questions are you supposed to ask? So, let's say that person is telling some story to you. There are some questions that work almost all the time. Questions like, how are you feeling right now? Or after the thing happened? Or while the thing was happening? Or what do you plan to do in the future about this thing? I don't want you to memorize these things necessarily. You can just keep these things in your mind and just get something to start with. The best part is follow up questions not only work in the same conversation, they work even better across different conversations. What I'm trying to say is remember things about people, their interests, their hobbies, and the next time you see them, ask the questions about that thing. The next thing is silence. So, silence is See the power of this? Silence is very uncomfortable, and that is the reason it is so powerful. I remember when I first started learning about psychology, I learned this sort of life hack where if you want some information from some person, you can directly ask that person about that thing. But that person is not going to tell you everything. So instead of asking more questions or getting angry, stay silent, don't say anything, and just look at that person. That person is going to get uncomfortable, he is going to get nervous, and he is going to start speaking about that thing more. And because he is nervous, he is less likely to lie. And to use silence in your conversations, there are two things you can do. First one is get comfortable with silence. You don't have to constantly keep speaking. If you are sitting with someone and none of you are saying anything, but both of you are feeling comfortable, that is an indication that both of you are quite close. Because when talking to someone you are not very close to, you have this psychological pressure where you want to keep speaking to impress that person, and you say something stupid and you fuck up things. So be more comfortable with silence. The second thing is making that person talk using silence. So, like I said, silence is quite uncomfortable, and because of this, it is quite powerful. In the middle of a conversation, if you realize that the topic is constantly about you, or the topic is getting boring, just be silent and let that person take the lead. That person is much more likely to talk about something that he wants to talk about. Now, there are certain things, if you improve them, they will improve everything else in your life. To know what they are, check out this video and check the link in the description if you want me to help you one to one. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye.